out of hundreds of thoughts that's running through my head, I want to talk about the difference between ought and actual. And I'll probably go off on different tangents and circle back round, but right now, the difference between ought and actual for me sits within a recognition of ought being a word I'm choosing to summarize the reality perspective of the ego, because the way that you conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis, and you have an internal dialogue, and people have expectations of how you should conduct yourself, this all forms the ego, and it's of form, and it's of presentation and practiced control, and that's all good. That's recognized as ought. You ought to do this. You ought to everything, right? In contrast to actual, which I am labeling as part of the body aspect, because body is what is, it's natural, it's the observable, reality. And that's why I'm talking about when you tune into your body and your senses and you attune to more of what is actual around you, the external, like the realization, the awareness of all the things that's observable externally is actual and true and, is. And then there's also what you observe within yourself, within your body. That also is. So whatever sensations, they could be in emotional form, or it could be a sensation like a pain or discomfort or like nausea or whatever it is, any kind of sensation felt within the body, that is. And that should be just watched and listened to and actually respected, because all that is just a communication. It's just a form of communication that your body uses. And it's important not to, turn a blind eye or, dull our senses to it, our awareness to it. So when you follow the line of thought that body represents what's actual and ego represents what's expected, then when I'm trying to express my streams of consciousness, my thought forms as they come through intuition and through these concepts that I'm labeling, I'm trying to identify with, trying to form a relationship within myself and then document it in real time. As I go through this process, it helps me to better identify different ways of explaining. And sometimes I have to jump ahead and explain something ahead of time, which breaks the flow of understanding communication. But if that's the way I have to do it, that's the way I have to do it. So I keep going off on tangents. Allow me. Sorry. Looping back round, the difference is I'll explain in examples. Right. I'm attuned to a higher state, a higher frequency, right? I'm energized. I'm channeling more of the ability to tune into different aspects of myself. If I tune into body, my current state would be in the high body, right? High is the prime aspect that's taking control, and they can be they're able to also like highly tune another aspect like body. So in a higher state of body, the truth of what is way more apparent, right? The truth of whatever sensations you're having or impulses as they come along. And then that brings into question, where's the difference between the body's impulses of like hunger and yearning and excitement and all of this stuff, dissatisfaction, and all of these sensations within the body. If it's in a high body state, then it pulls into question, where does will come into the equation when you're in that high state? Because when you're in that high state, you just want to like consume tasty food. You get the munchies and you get excited about different physical sensations. You like to feel different things because your body becomes alive. It becomes in a heightened state of high. And so when you're in these states, you can observe someone from the outside and look at them as their body seems to just turn into someone else, right? They just start fumbling and they just start like becoming some kind of, they've lost control. And so then you're reminded, if we're in agreement that ego represents expectation and form and control and precision, then that aspect has been tuned out, and in its place, it's a high body state. And that's what vaping a little bit of THC helps one to do. And that's what I've been experimenting with. And it's until I am able to formulate some kind of language in order to piece together the story of resource and the story of trying to explain different characters within us, that I get to see glimpses of this like interactive puzzle going on through my own experiences. And yeah, it's fun. And I just keep tuning back into ego when I tune more into my sober state, my sober default ego state. And then it's the ego mind state. And that's where I'm usually spending a lot of my time, like locked in my mind. So locked in my ego and my mind. And in that state, using the body, the body state is subdued because it's an ego mind dominated experience, the default kind of like sober experience that I have. So from day to day, I can leverage the control and practice of my ego state to say that whatever physical actions I do, they've been practiced in this state and they're good. I can have very good control over my body when it comes to physical things, especially things I've done before, right? A million times. Executing daily tasks, cooking and preparing a meal, just the way my body moves in that default state, I work excellently. My body works excellently. But then if I tune in to a high body state, even a little bit, then I noticeably can see how I am tuned out of my ego state, because I know that the mind chatter starts to go away, the ego dies down, and I'm way tuned into my body, and I'm interactive, and I'm, enthralled more with all the senses and truths of what is and my physical existence. it all starts to come way more to the forefront. And in that state, I tune away from the ego state. And because I tune away from the ego state, my actions become more sloppy. And I start to just not pay as much attention in terms of planning. And I forget. So the concepts of time starts to melt away because I have tuned out of mind. Because time is, as people explain it, and I feel it to be true, time is a construct of the mind. And ego uses it as a structure to conduct our experience, really. So all of this kind of explanation, it really helps when I get the words out and I'm able to review it for myself. And just ways for me to understand what it is that I observe within myself and within what I observe in the world. And the more I use narrative and my own ways of creating language and forms of understanding and characterizing in order to understand this experience and other possible experiences, other possible realities, other possible truths, as I tune more into high, they become way more apparent. And so the words I'm using, they're not random, they're chosen, a great deal of them. And I've started mapping out different words correlating to this 6 aspect format. And it's coming along quite well. And through mapping out words and categorizations and archetypes and stuff like that, I'm starting to formulate a string of individual words and then a sentence when I put them together in a cohesive order. And so as I go through the different aspects, I'm able to read out. It's almost like they're what's that word? What's that word? It's like if you were to have a sentence that summarizes who you are and what you believe, and I can't remember the word, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of like it's piecing together a cohesive pattern that more and more accurately and like nicely puts together descriptions that helps me better understand what the hell it is that I'm doing here and the whole story of resource and uncovering it. It's all part of this exciting journey, and I'm happy that I'm even just recording it, never mind anyone watching it, if and when I start to.